I'm live. It says you're live. All right. So today is Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. I got that right. I'm amazing. So I'm going to talk about triangulation first because it's out there and it's real and people don't always know about it. And especially people who haven't experienced it, like that, I want to say their emotional intelligence isn't very high. And so they would use triangulation to be manipulative and controlling. I also did not put this in for kids because I don't know, like this is live and I might cuss because that's what, that's me. All right. Triangulation is a powerful concept used across disciplines from research and psychology to navigation and intelligence gathering. And I have to keep going. In psychology, especially in the context of relationships, work relationships, and family systems, triangulation refers to a dynamic where a third person is brought into a conflict between two others to reduce tension or gain advantage. So, it's often unconscious and can be emotionally manipulative and destabilizing. So you have a conflict with someone and they say, well, we're going to bring in da da da, or they go gossip, right? They go and say, na 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 about da 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 da, right? That's triangulation. So the core concepts are two people are in conflict or discomfort and a third person is pulled in to mediate. Now, if that third person is not pulled in to mediate, then they're being pulled in to be manipulative, to be controlling, all right? Usually a third person, though, is let me keep going. So a third person is pulled in to mediate, distract, or shift the emotional balance. Right? This third party can become a buffer, but then the original tension, it remains unresolved. So what's holding me up here is like you have a conflict between two people and a mediator comes in to help with that. That's one thing. That mediator is neutral. Mediator has no stake in the conflict whatsoever. The only stake or intent of the mediator is to help resolve the situation in a peaceful and amicable way. However, triangulation is when you bring a third person in and you gossip behind. Okay, here's Mary and here's Joe. I'm sorry, Joe. Here's Mary and here's Joe. All right. They got into a conflict. Well, Joe goes off to be with, I'm sorry, I'm making up names, but the names that are coming to my mind are people that I actually know. So let me, Mike and Harry, right? So Joe goes to talk to Mike and Harry and says, no, 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 Mary did this, Mary did that, Mary. And so Harry says, well, I'll meet with Mary with you and we'll gang up on her. We'll be, and then the third person says, oh, Mary said something we don't like. Mary has a voice. Oh no, Mary has other things like breasts and a vivi and we only have penises, and so we're going to destroy Mary's voice. That's triangulation. That's how I look at it. All right, so where it shows up: family systems, triangulation. So Bowen coined the term in his family systems theory. An example: a child, this happens, right? A child is drawn into parental conflict, becoming the emotional stabilizer. I'm sorry, I know that happens. It's real. It's very real. A child's drawn into parental conflict, becoming the emotional stabilizer. This can lead to enmeshment, anxiety, and identity confusion for the child. It certainly puts the child in a position they do not deserve to be in at all. Triangulation also very much shows up extensively in narcissistic abuse. A narcissist may use triangulation to control or manipulate. So pitting people against each other, comparing people, creating jealousy, just gossiping, just hurtful, harmful words being said about another person. And using others to validate their version of reality. So that's exactly what happens. And then gaslighting through a third party is evidence. So using others to validate their experience. So everybody makes up a story in their mind, right? Everybody, we just make up stories, right? But do you validate the stories with evidence? So, I think Joe lied to me about da 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 da. Joe's a liar. Is he Joe a liar, or is that just the story you're telling yourself? Do you need to go back to Joe and say, Joe, I need some clarification on this. What did you really mean? That promotes honesty, transparency, and clear, rational, reasonable communication. To just hear, to say Joe's a liar and then go over here to someone else, Sally Sue, and say, Sally Sue, Joe lied to me about da 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 da. And then Sally Sue's like, yeah, and he lied to me too. Now, that's called bias confirmation, right? Now you've confirmed your bias. But is that person telling the truth too, or are they just joining your bandwagon for whatever reason? Maybe they don't like Joe. Maybe they, Joe flirted with them and they didn't respond back. Who knows, right? But maybe they joined your bandwagon too. And so now the two of you are together. This is triangulation. Now the two of you are together saying, Joe's a liar, Joe's a liar, when in fact, Joe didn't lie at all. He didn't lie to anybody. He told the truth. He set some boundaries that maybe some people didn't like, but he set some boundaries to protect his peace and be accepted for who he is. And now Mary and Sally Sue are just and picking on him. And now if they go to their manager, and they still haven't talked to Joe about whether or not he told the truth. Now they go to their manager, and their manager is like, oh no, I've got to write Joe up. And their manager still hasn't talked to Joe. Their manager still doesn't have any conversation with Joe about what happened. All right. Gaslighting through a third party is as evidence, right? See, I told you, Joe, No, Joe's a good person and he didn't do anything bad and he doesn't deserve Mary and Sally Sue and the manager triangulating against him. That causes him undue anxiety. Is going to cause him to mess up more at work, which then perpetuates the whole thing. Go check it out with Joe. Like, have the in your hands to go check it out. Hey, Joe, I want to know, can I just check in with you? I just need to know. I've been hearing some things and I want to hear from you too, please. That's what a neutral mediator would do, right? A neutral mediator in conflict situations will do just that. They'll say, okay, I've heard from Mary and Sally Sue, and now I'm going to go hear from Joe. And then I'm going to go to the manager and give the manager the fuller picture. We're going to talk about that here in a minute too. All right. Okay. Workplace and social dynamics. A manager avoids direct conflict with an employee by complaining to another team member. That is triangulation. That is narcissism. And that exists in the workplace. I'm going to put a little bit of this on my lips. All right, I'm going to read that again. A manager avoids direct conflict with an employee by complaining to another team member. Narcissistic triangulation. Okay, friends may be triangulated in drama to take sides or spread influence, and that is real, and that happens too, and it's detrimental to the culture of the organization, and it's detrimental to the people's personal value and identity within the organization. It's just detrimental. When an organization doesn't have conflict management, conflict resolution, investigator, that's good. A root cause analysis is always a good idea, but an investigation into why the contact, and then a neutral mediator, those are all very, very important things to keeping a culture in your organization of trust, of transparency, of camaraderie, of solidarity. All right, signs of toxic triangulation. You feel caught in the middle of someone else's conflict. That's your issue, people. Someone uses you to relay messages instead of direct communication. So this is toxic triangulation. Someone uses you to relay messages instead of direct communication. Honestly, put your kahunas in your hand, get them in your hand, and have the direct communication. And if you don't know how, this is a plug, and I'm not affiliated whatsoever, but learn Crucial Conversations. Go to Crucial Learning and learn Crucial Learning and Crucial Conversations. And that, if you want to learn, like if you don't want to learn and you're like, I'm good, then you're good. Go, stop watching this. Excuse me. But if you're not good, now I'm burping because of my smoothie this morning. Okay, we're talking about direct communication. So if you're not good with direct communication and you want to learn how, then I strongly recommend Crucial Learning, Crucial Conversations as a starter point. That will help you learn how to have those direct conversations and stop depending on a middle another person to relay, a middleman, a middle woman, a middle person to relay messages. All right. Another sign of toxic triangulation is you're being compared to others to provoke insecurity or competition. Well, so-and-so can do it this way. So-and-so does it that way. I'm not so-and-so, I'm me. Look at me, look at what my skills are, my abilities are, my special talents are, and don't compare me because I'm not in competition. I'm not even in competition with myself. Like, I'm not competing. I know who I am. I know what I value. Okay, healthy. Let's see, this last one, signs of toxic triangulation. You're pressured to choose sides in a dispute that doesn't directly involve you. Hey, if something's going on over there and it doesn't involve you, don't get involved. Don't do that. Don't be that person. Just go read a book or have an audio book read to you about someone else's drama and get caught up in that. And don't get caught up in real life drama that you have absolutely nothing to do with. So a supervisor goes to you and says, hey, did you hear what's happening over here to Sally Sue? Yeah, da-da-da, Sally Sue, da-da-da. And if you're listening to it and you're engaging with it, then you're part of the problem. If you stop it and you say, you know what, I'm going to set this boundary and I'm not going to talk to you or with you about other employees in a negative manner. And be sure that you're probably going to get written up for insubordination, but at least you set your boundary and you're not all eaten up inside because you didn't do what you knew you needed to do, which is not listen to that gossip, that bull that somebody else is spewing because they got issues, because they're a narcissist, because they do triangulation for authority and power and control. All right, healthy alternatives. Direct communication between the original parties. I heard this said. I felt this way. And then be open to listening to the other person as well. Now, we talk about you statements. You statements are always harmful. You did this, you did that. Can I take the you out of any statement? So instead of saying, I heard you say da da da, just say, I heard da da da. Don't use the you statement. It makes people defensive, right? I heard da da da. Was that accurate? Was that the way it was intended? Was that meant to come off as harsh as it sounded to me? And then hear from the other person. Now, a narcissist is going to lie. A narcissist is not going to tell you the truth. A narcissist is not going to communicate directly. They are just not going to do it. Not everybody is a narcissist. That some people display some behaviors that might be qualified as narcissistic behaviors. That doesn't mean they're diagnosable narcissist, right? However, there are people in the workforce, in the world, who are diagnosable narcissists. And when you are a diagnosable narcissist, you do not have whatever you need in your brain to learn new skills. So an example of that is a manager who took an implicit bias training. It was mandatory. Everybody had to take implicit bias so they understood that we had intrinsic bias, right? We all do. But rather than use that as a way to educate themselves and have empathy, they use that then as an excuse for their behavior. They then say, well, everybody has bias, so I can have bias too. And I don't have to actually address my bias because it just exists and this is my bias, right? That's a real thing. So when you have direct communication between original parties and you're being honest, still be aware and listen listen cognitively, listen attentively, because they may still try to gaslight you. And if they're a narcissist who's done triangulation, they probably are going to gaslight you. And so you're going to need to be ready for that. Setting boundaries. Okay, healthy alternatives. Setting boundaries when pulled into others' conflicts. Okay, so I am not somebody that you can scream at. I will do almost anything anybody asks if you ask me in a reasonable, rational way. However, if you're screaming at me, if you're intimidating me, if you're threatening me, if you're coming at me, you are not going to get me to do a damn thing but set my boundaries and say, I do not appreciate the way I'm being talked to. And unless it stops now, I'm not going to continue this conversation. That's setting a boundary that may end up with retaliation and a write-up on insubordination, but at least start setting our boundaries so people start realizing, so management, supervisors, all of those start realizing that we as workers are learning how to use language to set boundaries that protect ourselves and keep us safe. And saying things like, this conversation is making me feel uncomfortable. And unless it changes, the tone, the voice, the threats change, I'm not going to continue the conversation. Then it's over. Now, here's the other thing. Direct communication. Okay, the next one, healthy alternatives. Setting boundaries when pulled into others' conflicts, right? So Joe and Harry and this other person, what did I say, Mike? They're all gossiping. They're all like, and now they've brought in Sally Sue, right? So, hi, Sally Sue, guess what? Guess what? You know, that kind of gossip, that kind of like bringing someone else into the conflict is just a destroyer of morale. So, but then when this person stands up and says, I'm sorry, I do not want to be a part of this conversation and this discussion. If you guys have work topics that you want to talk about with me, then I'm more than happy to talk with you about specific work projects, but I'm not going to talk to you about people. I'm not going to gossip. It's detrimental to them. It's detrimental to me, and it's detrimental to our organization. Healthy alternatives, therapeutic support to break dysfunctional patterns. So that's a tough one, and not a lot of organizations have money for a therapist. They should have money for an outside mediator in personal conflicts, though. All right, so don't be afraid to set boundaries. We've all been learning how to set boundaries in the workplace, and it's about time that management and supervisors as well start to understand that workers are setting boundaries, that we do have voices, then that we are going to be in solidarity. All right, the last thing I want to talk about, this has almost gone to 20 minutes. I see I'm at 16, which is cool. I'm glad. The Rashomon Effect is named after a 1950s Japanese film, Rashomon, by Akira Kurosawa, in which a single event, a crime, is recounted in dramatically different ways by multiple witnesses. Each version is shaped by the individual's perspective, motives, and memory, and none of it can be confirmed as the objective truth. This concept has since been adopted by psychology, law, journalism, and philosophy to describe how people can sincerely offer contradictory accounts of the same event. It's not necessarily about lying, it's about how subjective perception and memory shape our understanding and reality. So while Elizabeth Loftus explored the misinformation effect in memory science, the Rashomon effect captures the broader idea of conflicting truths and subjective reality, exactly like the red car, blue car, and distracted driver scenario. That scenario is where there's an accident, and there's three witnesses, and they're each standing at different places. But one person sees a red car run the red light. Another witness sees the blue car speeding. And the third person says that both drivers were distracted. All of them are right. All of them are speaking their truth. All of them are saying exactly what they saw. But all three of them had a different experience and saw something different of the event. When you're in an organization, if you don't have a person in your human resources, and sometimes human resources needs a person to do this too, that can come in and listen to all of the different perspectives of the conflict and then come to some sort of reasonable, rational conclusion and mediate the conflict to a peaceful and workable resolution, then your organization is going to fall. And I guarantee it. However, if you can do that, you might be able to build a culture within your organization that's thriving and that can continue to thrive through decades. Okay, so that's my live for today. And thanks for watching. My lip's healing. I'm so thankful. I just saw somebody else who said they had a cold sore too. So maybe it's just the weather, the time of the month, or I don't know, the season or something. But my meds really worked. It's Valley, I don't know, Clover. And they're big, ugly green pills that are like monster pills to swallow, but at least they get the cold sore taken care of really quickly. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Please look at my podcasts. My website is being further developed as we speak, and I look forward to having that up soon. And if you want to talk to me, if you want to hear more from me, please look at one of my other videos and leave me a message in the comments section. At this moment, that's the best way to get a hold of me. Thank you.